sections for writing comments. One is the chat and one is the Q&A. Please use the chat, which is where people are saying hi now, for comments and for answering any questions that Teresa asks. And use the Q&A for questions for the end of the session for the Q&A. Okay. Remember that you will be getting a certificate for attending this session and also a handout, and there will be recordings available too. So don't worry, we will put all that information in the chat, but the chat goes very quickly. So if you miss it, don't worry, you'll be getting an email at the end of this session or tomorrow probably with all of those links. So you don't need to worry about that. Finally, just a note about safeguarding. As we've seen, this is a very international space. We've got lots of people here from all over the world. So please be polite and respectful. Make sure you keep your comments relevant to the session, and don't express any political opinions or anything that could cause harm or offence to anybody. And also important, very important, don't share any personal information like emails or phone numbers or anything like that. And please no links to any commercial products either. Okay, so as I said, this session will be starting shortly. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. And then we're going to make a start. So I think...
Recording in progress.
Right, I think now we're live on Facebook. So welcome to everyone on Facebook too. Welcome to everyone in Zoom, and welcome to Teresa, today's speaker. Hi, Teresa. How are you, Teresa?
Lovely to see everyone. It's great to be here. I was watching Anna's chat before on Facebook, and there's lots of people over there as well. So good morning to everyone.
Yeah, hi to everyone. Okay, so before we start, I'm just going to very quickly introduce you officially. So this is Teresa Bestwick. She's a teacher and a teacher trainer from Spain. Whereabouts in Spain are you, Teresa?
I'm down in the southwest near Cadiz.
Okay, lovely. Okay, Teresa writes course books for teenagers, and she's also a teacher trainer, and she also writes about teaching teenagers. She blogs about that as well. This is her specialist subject. She's also got a special interest in professional development for teachers. She works with TESOL Spain, which is a teacher association here in Spain. And she also has an online development group for ELT professionals called the TEFL Development Hub. So loads of experience, both with working with teenagers and also with teacher training. So I'm really excited to hear all about this session now, which is all about building rapport in the teenage classroom. So I'm going to hand over to you now, Teresa. If you need anything, just let me know, and I'll be back at the end for the Q&A. So I hope everybody enjoys the session. Okay, over to you, Teresa.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, so I said good morning. Obviously, we've got fabulous folks joining us from all over the world. So whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, thank you very much for coming along today. And thank you, of course, to the British Council for inviting me, and to Joe and Kath and Melissa for moderating. And I know Naomi's over on Facebook as well. So it's wonderful to be here. So let me open up the chat so I can keep an eye on that as we're going through as well. So this is what we're going to be having a look at today, thinking about how we can build rapport and manage stress with our teenagers, looking at some practical ideas for the classroom. I know I'm a huge fan of attending sessions that have practical ideas, so there's lots of takeaways for you today, and then a little bit of a reflection at the end of the session as well. So I guess the first question is really, how does building rapport and managing stress go together? So in Anna's session before, she was talking a lot about social emotional learning and this idea of creating a safe and welcoming and comfortable environment for our learners. And so I think that's really important, making our learners feel safe in the classroom. And one way that we can do that is through building rapport with them, finding out more about them, finding out more about their interests, just learning about who they are as individuals. And then when our learners feel comfortable and confident in the classroom, it allows them to feel less stressed. Okay, she talked as well about this zone of proximal development and how we often want to be, pushing our learners just outside their comfort zone so that they can learn more. But it's important that we do that in a stress-free environment, lowering their affective filter, making sure that they do feel comfortable and confident and safe within the classroom. So by building rapport, we can also learn more about how our learners are feeling and when they might be feeling stressed and how we can help them manage and cope with that stress. Okay, so an activity that I'm going to start off with, apologies if you've seen me talk before, I quite often start my sessions with this activity. This is an activity that I do at the beginning of my courses with my teenagers and with my adults as well. And so to start off with, I draw a picture, a cloud on the board, and I put in all of the people that I am for different people. So, for example, Kath and I were chatting before about how to say my name, because in English people say Teresa, whereas in Spain they say Teresa, in Germany Teresa. So there's lots of different varieties of accents that you can use to say just Teresa. But also a lot of people call me T, and then people in Spain tend to call me Tere. So, you know, I've already got kind of just within my name, there's 3 different variations coming through. My pronouns are she and her. I've got 2 sisters, so for them, I'm sis. I'm little sis as well, particularly. My sisters don't have children, but for my friends, I'm Auntie T. And so these were the names that I started off with. I started off just by doing names. But then I thought as well, it's important for our teenagers to think not only who they are in their local community, but who they are for the wider world as well. So when I've been doing this activity this year with my teenagers and my adults, I've also included a couple of other things. So for example, this one is my WhatsApp profile, my WhatsApp bio or whatever it is. So when you add me on Facebook, you see T with a little T-Rex and some pizza and a starry-eyed face, because those 3 things are very important to me. I love dinosaurs, I love pizza, and I'm generally quite a bouncy, happy person. And then this one, this second one, this is my bio. So the longer text that you see on WhatsApp. So it tells them a little bit more about who I am. And so I thought it was important as well for our teenagers to think about who they are, how they present themselves to the wider world as well. So in my classes, I started off by sharing who I am, and then put the learners into pairs, into small groups, and get them to do the same activity. Okay, get them discussing in pairs, sharing their different names for different people. I'm going around and monitoring and listening, and I can ask follow-up questions as well to learn more about them. And then in feedback as well, after they've told me a couple of their names for different people, I ask them, well, who do you want to be in the classroom? And this is really empowering. So this goes back again to this idea of creating that welcoming environment for our learners. And I had a student this year, his name is Alessandro, and he did who he was for different people. And then he said, but in the class, I'd like to be Bob. And I said, Bob, why Bob? And he told me that the previous year they'd done an activity where they were practicing the exam. They were practicing a speaking exam together. One of them had to take on the role of an examiner and an interlocutor. So he became Bob for that activity. And he just decided that from then on, that was going to be his personality, his persona in the English classroom. So I now have a group of Italian students, one of whom is called Bob. And there's a great question from Noor. Can we do this with students of different ages? I think definitely with teenagers it works. They have a lot of awareness about who they are for different people. With adults, definitely. With younger learners, it might require a little bit more scaffolding. They might not be, you might need to give them more direct questions like, what do your parents call you? What do your caregivers call you? What do your brothers and sisters call you? What do your friends call you? So give them a lot more support in identifying those different names. Okay, so that's who I am. And let's carry on. So another activity that I love doing with my students is I love bringing nature into the classroom. I think nature is one of the wonderful things that we can do to help lower our levels of stress. And you'll see, I'll come back to this later in the session as well. I think nature has a very calming effect. So this activity is very simple to do. Gather together a group of shells, for example, or leaves, or pebbles, or sticks, or even something like buttons or coloured crayons, and give them to your students, give them time to kind of feel them. I think this textural quality is really important in this activity as well. And then ask them to reflect. So for example, here you can see I've asked you just to tell me which is your favorite. So in the chat, tell me which is your favorite. A couple of people are saying that they like number 9. Fantastic. Interesting. I wonder, and obviously as well with the students, you could get them thinking about why they like them. So for example, someone here, Hakima, says number 7, when I was a child, I thought I could hear the sound of the sea, which is a lovely idea. And I think this activity as well, particularly when we do it with older teenagers and with adults, it can bring back a lot of these memories as well. So we've had Ikram as well. I like number 11. It would make a nice necklace or bracelet. I like the shape and design. Wonderful. So you can do it very simply, just which is your favorite, and that will obviously stir up a lot of memories and thoughts and emotions. There are lots of other ways that you can do it as well. So for example, you could say of a family member, okay? Or which of these shells represents how you feel first thing in the morning, okay? Obviously, the types of questions we'll ask will vary depending on the level of our students. So which one reminds you of a family member? That would be quite suitable for lower levels. Which one represents how you feel first thing in the morning? That might be a little bit more cognitively demanding. So maybe for higher level students who've got a little bit more vocabulary, a bit more language to be able to express their ideas. But I do think as well that an activity like this, I love using pictures, I love using realia, because so much can come from the students. When we give them a text, all the information is there. When they watch a video, there's a lot of input. Whereas when we give them something which is just purely visual, they can interpret it in as many different ways as they like. And so I think that that's a really nice way to bring more personalization into the classroom as well. Fantastic. Loving all your comments here. For example, Ezine, apologies, by the way, if I'm pronouncing anybody's name wrong. I love number 1 because it reminds me of my grandma. So I think, you know, really giving them the opportunity to reflect on who they are, and we can learn more about our students as well. Anna and Joanna, at the end of Anna's session, they were talking a little bit about journaling. I know some people were saying, you know, I'm not particularly creative. What can I do with my students to kind of bring in a lot of this social and emotional learning? Journaling is a fantastic activity to get our learners engaging with their inner selves. Okay. So I think, and it's something that Joe and Anna mentioned often when we do writing in class, there's a purpose. It's for exam preparation. It's to practice the new vocabulary. It's to practice this structure. And it's not necessarily something that our learners would write in their real lives. It's very abstract, a lot of the writing that we do in our lessons. So I think journaling is a great way to make writing very personal. Okay. Also, journaling gives our learners opportunity for some quiet time in the classroom. We do a lot of communicative activities. We want our learners to be speaking and engaging. But as Anna mentioned in the previous session as well, some of our learners aren't that chatty. Some of them, they want to learn the language, but they're not so interested in all of this communication, talking for an hour's long lesson. So giving them this opportunity for some quiet time is also a nice way to reach more of our learners. And so a couple of things that I would do. First of all, I would get the learners a book. And it doesn't need to be an expensive book. You can quite often, if you ever go to conferences, you can pick up paper books. You can get them in cheap shops around the town. But I would give it to the students and then ask them to decorate it. Okay, so this, yes, it's a notebook, but it's your notebook and it's a special notebook. Okay, so get them to draw pictures on it or stick stickers on it. And then when it's time to do the journaling moment in the lesson, give them a choice of prompts to choose from. So here are some examples. What's something beautiful you saw today? What made you laugh recently? How did you feel when you woke up this morning? What are you thankful for today? What did you do outside today? And how did the weather make you feel today? So these are all very personal prompts. It's encouraging the learners to reflect, think about their emotions, think about the world around them as well. For example, what are you thankful for? Or what did you do outside? As I said before, nature is very important to me. So I like to include a connection to the outside world. What's something beautiful you saw today? I mean, that could just be a pen. You know, maybe they saw that a friend had a really nice pen, or it could be the sunrise or anything. It's a really nice way for learners to bring their selves into the classes. So I would maybe give them 3 or 4 prompts to choose from. Give them some time to write. And then, as Anna said at the end of her session, it's not about then taking in the journals, correcting them. You didn't use the present perfect here. Take in the journals and respond to their content. Okay, so tell the learners about yourself as well. Oh, you saw a beautiful sunrise. I love watching the sunrise. I think I prefer sunrises more to sunsets. What about you? And then, as Anna said, make any of those typical errors that you see so that you can work on them in a future lesson. Okay. And yet, as Svetlana says, this one, it can work in both the physical and the online class. In the physical classroom, you could give your learners an actual book, whereas in the online classroom, perhaps it could be a Google document would work in that it's collaborative, but it doesn't give them that much opportunity to decorate it. I'm a huge fan of Canva, and that would be a great one to use if you're doing this in the online environment, because students can very easily find pictures and emoji and different things that they want to add in to their text. Okay, so yeah, great idea from Svetlana for both physical and online classes. Okay, so we've done a couple of activities. One more, thinking about building rapport, is true or false for grammar practice. So have a look at these sentences. First of all, tell me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is each sentence grammatically correct or incorrect? Okay, if you want to type away, and we've had some more suggestions from people. So Asya says Padlet would be a good one for online journaling. And Svetlana says TLD draw. Ooh, I haven't heard of that one, so I'll take a look. Okay. So yes, have a look at these sentences. Each sentence, is it grammatically correct? So, yep, we've got some coming through. Fantastic. So, in the classroom, course books are great. I write course books. So, I know that they are very useful for the classroom, but they are for a very wide audience and they don't always talk to our students individually. And I find particularly with grammar activities that all of the sentences are quite abstract. It's always about a third person. And as much as possible, I like students to interact with the grammar when they're doing it. I like them to personalize it and make it meaningful. So this is an activity that I do with my students. You can do it again with teens, with adults, and probably even with younger learners as well. In this case, obviously today I'm talking to a global audience. I've seen a couple of names that I recognize in the chat, but I've done all of these sentences as